G'day fellas and welcome to Replay Review. We're taking a look at Expresso's replay. He's in the Bronze League at the moment and he's requested that we take a look at this game and try and analyze exactly where things went wrong or what he could be doing different, maybe what he could be doing better as well. With me, you will see that in that corner, wait, hold on a minute, over in that corner, let me point to it over there. We've got chat. Twitch chat is here with us. This is something that we're doing on Twitch. We're probably live at the moment, so make sure you come check us out. And just remember, we got Outback Octagon coming up very, very shortly. So don't go anywhere because that's going to be coming up in the next 24 hours. So stay tuned for that one. But let's take a look at this game. Mr. Merlin saying you need a timeline hider. Mr. Merlin, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not really watching this one for the outcome. I'm watching this one for the journey. So let's talk a little bit about this journey and about where it begins, because Expresso is going to start off playing as the Delhi. He's going up against the English. The map is Lipany, as you can see. And let's watch and see how Expresso does. So looks like everything at the start, not too bad. He's starting off with 5 and 1. So this is a pretty classic Delhi build order. Sometimes you see them take the straggler. Sometimes you see them do 2 and 2. But it looks like he's also pulled off 1 villager to gold. So what I'm seeing here already, just from this opening, is a little bit of a concern because this is not something that you would typically see. You wouldn't normally see a player look to take this gold mine this early, or look to see a Delhi player take it this early. So what I'm going to show you guys is a cool little tool that you can use so that you can find the best build orders. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to head over to my browser and I'm going to go to AoE4 World. You can see it up on the top of the screen there. That is the URL. And then from here, I'm going to hit the tools button at the top and I'm going to go to Twitch Video Finder. I'm going to click this button right here and that's going to take me through to a page where I can choose what Twitch videos I want to watch, and it will also provide a timestamp for it. So as an example, if we go right now, let's say I want to find a Delhi build order. Let's say right now I'm Expresso, I want to find a Delhi build order. I'm just going to hit I want to go Delhi Sultanate, and I want to find anybody who is above, let's say above 1300. Let's make it good. So what I'm going to do then is click the find button, and then that's going to take its time. You can see that it's got a lot of content creators here. There's Demuslim, there was me, and now it's loaded up all the games. So you can pick here, you might be having trouble on, say, Dry Arabia. And look, there's a Demuslim game where he plays against the French, and he's playing on Dry Arabia. So what I'm going to do now is click this button here. This button is going to enable me to go watch that VOD, that VOD, that video on demand, and watch that game that he played. And I'm going to be able to sit there and see exactly what he's doing. And I can write it down, or I can just try and memorize it myself, and then I can go in and practice it. So if we watch Demuslim right now, you'll see that he's obviously loading up against his opponent. Give me a second here. We'll speed it up a little bit. There we go. So he's going to open up, queues up his units, and he goes straight onto sheep. So it doesn't go for a mill start here immediately, and then goes out for a lumber camp, and then out to the mill. So already we can start to understand a little bit about what optimizations can be made, because if you're looking at a player like Demuslim, who is currently the highest rated player on the ladder, you're probably going to be doing absolutely fine as long as you sort of emulate that, because that's probably the best place that you can start, is just emulating what the top players are doing. So I'll leave a link in the description on YouTube to where you can find that. It's AoE4 World, and just go to Tools, and then you just go to Twitch VOD Finder or Twitch Video Finder. But let's take a look at what else we've got. So it looks like it's going to be a double scout opening here for Expresso. Now he is playing up against the English, so a second scout is not a big deal, but obviously he wants to really make sure he gets in as much food as possible. So I think that's a good idea to go for a second scout as the Delhi. As the Delhi, obviously you do want to be making sure that you are collecting all of the sheep possible. So one of the things that we see here is that there was a couple of sheep that were missed out. Looks like the first one gets picked up, the second one not yet. So this is part of where it comes in on APM, because there's a lot of stuff going on in the early game that you're going to have to train yourself to do. So the first thing that's probably going to be happening is you want to give these some control groups. So you can see we've got control 1 for this scout. We're going to call this one control 2, and we're going to call our town center control 5. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start moving between them by pressing 1 twice, or 2 twice, or 5 twice. And then what that's going to enable me to do is use a part of my brain. I'm just going to pause it here before we talk about this. It basically allows me to increase the speed at which I'm seeing things, because what I'm going to be doing is snapping between them. I'm going to go to my scout, and then I'm going to go to my second scout. Then I go to my town center, back to my scout, back to my town center, to my other scout, now to my other scout again. And it's going to enable you to be constantly watching 3 places at once in the early game, which is something that you really need to do once to get better. You don't have to. If you just want to shift click a unit around the map and auto scout, go for it. But it is an improvement that you can make. And we can see that Expresso almost missed a couple of sheep there. He's going to turn his attention onto the English villagers quite early. Now, one of the things I would warn you against if you're playing against the English is harassing their villagers. And the reason why is because their town center fires a lot of arrows. In fact, it's double arrows. So if you aren't paying attention, which I'm foreshadowing right now because I do know what happens here. If you're not paying attention to your scout and this English player decides to walk his villager towards the town center, well, you're going to be in danger because it's very easy for him to pop these villagers inside and get off some extra damage. So we can see now that the second scout is coming in. And now they're going to head in underneath the town center, and he's going to pop all of the villagers inside the town center. So great play here by D10D, who is the opponent. Manages to take out the first scout, which was full health. And now Expresso, almost not learning his lesson, comes back in for a second round, thinks he can get that sneaky little villager kill. 8 health, 6 health. He's going to try and get it. 4 health. 2 health. Unfortunately, the Gatling gun is real. And the Gatling gun kills both of the scouts. And the reality is, losing a scout this early in the game is, it's very tempting to say it's good game right here. It's not good game, but this is really difficult. This is a really difficult thing for you to overcome, because now if you want to get information, you're going to have to train another scout, which is exactly what you're doing. And now you're down a villager. So basically that villager that you were trying to kill over here, you've just killed yourself. You've killed your own villager. And you've done that twice because it's with 2 villagers. So your age up's coming through. Not a bad timing for your age up. Just be cautious with how many villagers you use on an age up as well. Because typically about 3 or 4 seems to be around the optimal number. And we do see a moss coming down now. The moss could have been over just a little bit more. So you can see that you've got this radius. So with regard to the radius, so you can actually just put, the whole building doesn't have to be inside. It only needs to be half of the building. So if you take the 2 tiles that you've got here, you've got 1 tile there, and then 1 tile here, and extend it out to 1 tile here, and then 1 tile here. So you could have hit all 3 of your, all of your economic buildings here, with that, if you wanted to. And this is the consequence of the build order that you're doing at the moment. You might not be doing a build order, you might be freestyling it, in which case, it's a good idea for you to pick up a build order, try and learn something, and what I would say is you want to be opening with a mosque as soon as possible. You want to try and get this bad boy down because it's going to have a number of really important upgrades that are going to help you out once you get to the feudal age. Most importantly, efficient production. It's a really good opening technology to know, because you can drop down a stable, you can put your scholar inside of it, and when the English player, who is going to be aging up shortly, starts getting out longbows, you're going to be able to double produce those horsemen. So over on your side, we'll check and see exactly what you've got going on. Looks like you're just scouting out the rest of the map. You're getting your techs in at this point. I'm not going to focus too much on the micro. I'm going to focus a bit more on the macro. So looking at the larger picture here. And so this right here is a consequence of the smaller detail, forgetting to put down that house. And it does happen. It can be difficult to remember all of the things that are going on when you're playing in a game like this. And by the way, if you've got any questions throughout this, feel free to ask, because I'm sure that there's probably quite a fair bit of information that you'll have to process here. We'll take a look at what your enemy's up to and how he's doing. So he's also rushing up his landmark here. He's going for quite a late age up. So this is pretty standard for the English these days. They seem to be going for this sort of wheelbarrow play, which is what he's doing. So let's talk a little bit about how you're going to be playing this as the Delhi. So it's really important for you to have that efficient production, which you are getting in now. But the thing is, you've got your Dome of the Faith up already. And the longer you delay researching Sanctity, which is down here, the longer it takes you for you to get those sacred sites. And that's really key for you as the Delhi. Your win condition is about getting those sacred sites. You need to get those sacred sites ASAP, you need to try and hold them, and then you need to utilize that gold income. Now, you're moving out towards this this outpost, and this is a consequence of the earlier interaction over towards this position, where you had about 4 or 5 sheep, and unfortunately, you lost them all because of the essentially what was happening here. So I would say if you're one of the newer players, if you're bronze, silver, gold down in that region, I would avoid hitting enemy villagers on the gold mine. Just simply because the APM that you need to have to be constantly snapping back and making sure that your scouts are okay and that they're not dying to town centers or enemy scouts, it's very, very high. I consistently lose scouts. I probably lose one scout a day at the moment. If I'm playing like 5 games, I will lose 1 scout in those 5 games from doing this early harassment. So I would say it's probably better just to play it safe next time. Gold players can do that, says Mr. Merlin. But can they do it successfully? That's the question. Because you can come in and harass this, okay? But whether you can pull it back in time. Like, I guess I'm used to looking at somebody like Wham and Puppy Paw, who basically do it perfectly. I guarantee you that by the time the villager moves to here, the scout has already moved off. Like, it's just perfect control. And it can be something difficult to do. Next point we're going to talk about is this bad boy right here. We've got a mill in a very interesting position. So one of the things to remember is that in this matchup or in this game, you're going to be suffering quite a bit of harassment that could come in. So what you've got is you've got your outpost and then you've got your mill. So what would be best for you here is that you put your mill where your outpost is and your outpost where your mill is. Now, there's a couple of different ways that you can play that, but ideally you'd actually want to have the outpost next to the mill. But because you're up against an English player, then there's an argument for it to be in the front. But that's on the condition that you've got arrow slits. There's a lot of little caveats in here. But once again, you wouldn't be out here in the first place if it had been for the fact that you hadn't lost those sheep. But now you see that the longbows are coming out. Now, the English player did see your scout, so all of a sudden, they've moved out towards your position and look to repel you. So ideally, what you want to be doing is trying to sit outside the town center line of sight. And that's going to really help you out. But now we've got an English villager coming up and being really smart. So this right here, this is something that happens quite often. A person will be going for resources, whether it be berries, whether it be a boar, and then the other will put down an outpost. And that person might already have an outpost down. And you can see the difference here. If you had an outpost here, he would never even be able to drop this down. He would never be able to challenge it because very easily you could leave a unit inside it, whether it's a scout, whether it's something else, and then you could deny that just simply through shooting. So there's a big difference there. But we're getting to the 8-minute mark of the game, which is typically where, as a Delhi player, the key things that you're looking for here are taking those sacred sites. And obviously, you've scouted out the sacred sites. You know where they are. We've got 1, we've got 2, we've got 3. So you know where every sacred site is. You know what your enemy's up to. You know that they're thinking about doing a little bit of a push. You have got your efficient production in, but remember, now you've got Sanctity, and it's taking its time, another 35 seconds. It's still quite a while before that bad boy comes in. So ideally what you want to be doing is you want to be hitting a triple. Every single time you finish researching Sanctity, you want to hear dung, dung, dung. Every single sacred site being taken at the same time. So what you would do is about 30 seconds left to go on Sanctity, you would move out with your villagers, with your scholars to each sacred site. So you would go 1 up here, 1 down here, and 1 over on this position as well. So it can be a bit difficult microing it and remembering it, and then like at the same time, like obviously if you've got 2 scholars that are coming down towards this position, you can see you're running right through your enemy's military. So then you've got to take 2 scholars and you've got to rally them around like that. And then obviously when you rally them around, there's 1, 2, 3 wolves that they're going to pick up. So now your scholar's going to die over here. So there's a lot of levels to it. But it can all be nullified over here if there was just an outpost on this position, because then he wouldn't even be challenging this spot at all. So there's lots of different like little factors that can really play into it. But we'll keep watching and see exactly what you did and see some of the things that you could be doing different and other ways that you could be improving your game and not sort of just hypotheticals. So I like the composition that you're going here. This makes a lot of sense in the way that you're playing. So you've got a really strong counter composition. The key here is that with your micro, you're going to be needing to hit these spearmen, which you're doing. You're pulling back. And to be honest, against this number of units, you don't have to. You can just go in, ram it in there, get it in there nice and deep like, and you're going to be absolutely fine. And that's what you do. So you got to be careful with your horsemen. So you got to make sure that you retask them. Otherwise, they decide to give up in the middle of the battle. I know it's very frustrating, but it's just the way that it is. But it looks like you've taken some significant losses here. So my next question is whether we've added in a blacksmith just yet. And it doesn't look like we have. In fact, you haven't added in any blacksmith. You've added in farms instead. Now, I will remind you, you're playing on the map Lipany. Lipany is known for its just bountiful amounts of berries. So that means that each player gets 5 berry spawns each. So if we take a look at the English player, you can see he's got 1, 2, 3 over here, 4, and then there should be a 5th one somewhere, maybe like this one over here. And by the same token, you've got 5 as well. 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, and then where's your 5th one? Up here. Up here. Which you are now taking, which is the correct choice. So ideally, you shouldn't be farming at all on the deli. As the deli, you want to delay your farms as much as possible. So that might mean coming out and taking your hunt, even though it's probably a little bit hard. And he's doing a great job keeping tabs on this as well. You can see from his perspective, he knows exactly what you're up to. If you try and come out here, he's going to be easily able to flex up to that position. So it's important to try and take those back ones. So this is a really safe one down here, but I don't think you've scouted this out. And this is a consequence of losing those scouts in the early game. So try and focus a bit more on scouting, a little less on being aggressive. It is, look, it's annoying towards your enemy, but you know what's even more annoying? When you don't have any scouts yourself. And Telarium in the chat saying, I love the double blacksmith build. Yeah, so double blacksmith build is a great opening. So basically the idea with the double blacksmith is that you open with the deli up to the feudal age, and you drop down 2 blacksmiths immediately. You get them down straight away, and you start researching your ranged upgrade and your ranged armor, your ranged attack upgrades at the same time. And so that would be I would say that's probably the optimal build for deli at the moment. And once again, I would encourage you, make sure you go into AoE4 World, see if you can find a person who's using that. Yeah, Mr. Melon's also pointing out that you've got quite a bit of resources floated at the moment, which it's obviously an issue, but I think that there's more, there's larger things that we could be focusing on. But typically, as Mr. Melon is saying, you would want to be spending all of your resources. So I know that in addition to that, talking about build orders, so in addition to Twitch Video Finder, if you haven't already, make sure you check out Beastie Cutie on Twitch. Where is he? Not on Twitch, sorry. On YouTube. So you can go onto Beastie's YouTube page, and then you can just look at his How to Deli video. Gamers.
All around the world.
That's my favorite line. That's the best line. I love it when he says that part. He said the thing. So you can see he's got videos for absolutely everybody. French, English, Mongols, Rus, Delhi, Holy Roman Empire is up here, as well as Chinese. He's got build orders in there. He's got good information about this. So I'd encourage you, go check that out. Run that. Just and go in and play it up against the skirmish a fair few times. So from here, we're not going to watch this game anymore. I'm just gonna show you some things that you would want to be doing more production at this point. For the deli, you don't need more production at this point. As long as you're regularly spending your resources, you should be fine. So what you would do is, I'm going to do it with the Chinese. You can do it with your Civ. So you go watch the Beastie Cutie video, and what you're going to be doing is now jumping into a Dry Arabia game, a standard game, okay? And you're going to be practicing against the AI. And I do this a lot. You go look in my history right now. I'm not even kidding you. I think I played 10 games against the AI, just perfecting my build order so that when I take it onto the ladder, I'm ready. So I'm going to just start off doing everything that I would naturally against an opponent, and I'm doing it here against the AI. And it just comes like, it's almost like it's second nature for me. It's just very easy for me to do because I've done it so many times against the AI. So that would be my suggestion for you, is make sure that you really do practice it. Make sure you practice doing the control groups as well. And now, and everything just runs smoothly for me because I've practiced this probably close to 20 times now. And there you go. So Aussie versus Aussie? No. It's the AI. Oh, I guess it was on the load-in screen, wasn't it? And so I can nail this build order every single time now. And so when it comes to the pressure of the ladder, everything, it's much easier for me to do that there. So I nail it every single time. So that would be my suggestion for you about that. So in addition to Twitch Video Finder, you've obviously got Beastie's YouTube. That is a great resource. But that would be my best plan to formulate if you do want to improve. Really focus on nailing opening build orders. That's really key. And production buildings, I know that I talked about it before, where I said specifically that you didn't need more production at that point, but one of the biggest mistakes that a newer player can make is that they don't have enough production. And as a result, or not that they don't have enough production, they don't spend their resources. And because they don't spend their resources build up. And so when they throw down, when they've got like 3 archery ranges and they're making units from it, they've got like 15 units in queue. And so there becomes a point where it's like it becomes an advantage for you to actually make extra production buildings, because at that level, you won't have the ability to spend your resources so quickly. I hope that makes sense. I hope for anybody who's watching this on YouTube that this has come as a help for you. Let me know what you think of this series, Replay Review. We're going to be taking a look at people from all different areas, all different stages. I would remind you guys, I am just a Plastic League scrub. I think at the moment I'm sitting in Diamond 2. So look, by no means am I the best player. I don't even think I'm in the top 200 at the moment. I mean, to be fair, I'm playing China. It's not pretty. And there you can see all the skirmish games. I wasn't lying about the skirmish games, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And it is just me practicing the build order over and over and over again against the AI. So I'm out here doing it. I encourage you to do it as well, just to make sure that once you get into those games, that it's going to be super, super solid for you. And there's a message in chat from Marty saying, Drongo, one of the biggest things I want to know, how do I determine how many vills do I need on each resource for whatever I want, in Feudal mostly, without hours tinkering with the AoE4 production calculator? That's a good question, Marty. It largely comes down to feel and learning your build orders. And it depends on the civilization that you're playing, but for me, as an example with China, this is something that I talk about quite a bit, is I rally to wood, and I can just stay on wood for like all of Feudal. All I need is like 6 villages on my gold and maybe 10 to 12 villages on food, and then everybody else is on wood. And then from wood, you know, if I go up to 20 villages on wood and I notice I've got a little bit too much wood, great, now I'm going to drop down some farms. Because as China, that's what I love to do. China, you want to drop down farms. Maybe I want to drop down some outposts. Maybe I want to drop down, you know, an outpost here, and a mill back on my deer. So it depends on the civilization that you're playing, but yeah, realistically, it's about knowing what you want to make. So like, as an example, if I'm up against French, I will put more villages on food because I know I need to make spearmen. If I'm up against, say, the Holy Roman Empire, I'm not making spearmen. I'm just going full Chokunu, and as a result, I'm keeping less villages on food. But yeah, there's no easy way to gauge it rather than just trial and error. But your basic rule can just be 4 villages on sheep. Is going to get you enough food to get that villager creation going, and then from there you can work wherever else you want to go. But yeah, I really like what you do there with the mill, with that wood drop off. Smart. Yeah, it does work out very well to do that, because it means that I don't have to mine or chop any wood for the lumber camp. But yeah, you can use this on a lot of different civilizations. I know Konoki's testing it at the moment. He's testing it with the Holy Roman Empire. So yeah, there's a lot of good stuff. Well, anyways, fellas, I hope you guys have enjoyed this one, and yeah, we'll catch you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching.